when it really counts. Depend on the source for the latest weather updates, keeping you ahead of the storm. 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
We'll start the day with areas of fog, otherwise sunshine, patchy clouds, a high of 81 to 84. Clear to partly cloudy and mild this evening, low tonight 61 to 65. Then partly sunny and mild tomorrow, high Wednesday 80 to 83. Thursday and Friday both will be mostly sunny, high Thursday 65 to 71, high Friday 67 to 71. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Holly Holdren.
Veterans Helping Veterans USA. Call 352-433-2320. We help veterans and their families with limited financial assistance, counseling, employment referrals, and a food and clothing bank. You can help in making a huge difference in the veterans' lives we serve by donating food, clothing, household items, or direct financial assistance. All donations are tax deductible. Veterans Helping Veterans USA. 352-433-2320. Thank you for your attention, and God bless America.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Wednesday morning, hump day. We are at the midweek, the last week of January. Boy, this month has flew by. It is very foggy this morning, thick fog, so take a little extra time to try to get out to work wherever you're going. If you've noticed, the satellite feed for WOCA has been skipping a little bit, popping around. Well, that's because the satellite feed is being broke up by the fog and clouds. So as soon as the sun gets burns us off, we'll be in better shape here at the radio station and on the roadways. A guy who is probably on the roadways as we speak, dealing with the fog. I don't know. He may be on his way to Gainesville. Galen Unall joins us, brought to you by Penn Flooring and Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. Galen, you in this fog, this pea soup that's out there right now?
Yeah, it's starting to lift. It's not that bad. Visibility's increasing every minute, so it's not bad.
Yeah, when I came into the station this morning about 10 till 7, the visibility was zero.
Yeah, I believe that. It's starting to burn off.
But
temperature's starting to rise. Once we get to about 70, this will all be gone. So,
but yeah. when people say visibility is down to zero, I always immediately I was watching Troy Bridges this morning. He said, in Ocala you're going to have zero visibility. He was telling everybody, be careful, just like I just did. Take a little extra time. And I thought, I know what he's saying is correct, but when he says zero visibility, he's never driven in North Carolina in the fog, in the mountains.
Yeah, up in the mountains, sure.
But that's not really fog, that's really clouds that we're driving through.
Sure, absolutely. Or in San Francisco with that marine layer.
Oh, yeah. I've literally had to, going from Blowing Rock to Lenore, down the mountain, halfway down the mountain, up from Blowing Rock, halfway down the mountain. I literally went about 5 miles an hour with the door of my car open so I could see the yellow line on the road going down the mountain. That's fog. That's fog, brother.
Yeah, and if you go off the road, you could die. So it makes it a little more interesting.
Yeah, a little more interesting. Speaking of interesting, I woke up aggravated this morning. I missed this yesterday. I was helping my fiance do some stuff for a presentation she was giving at her place of business yesterday evening. Then I had trivia, so I didn't quite catch all that happened yesterday in sports. And then I woke up and saw this morning. No Hall of Fame players voted in this year into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. Something has to be done about the vendetta writers have, and I know that it's the steroid era guys that are not being, Kurt Schilling, 71.1% of the vote, got the most. Barry Bonds, 61.8%. Roger Clemens, 61.6%. Also on the ballot were Scott Rowland, Omar Vizquel, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, Jeff Kent. I know that they're not names that are Hall of Fame, but the first three are Hall of Famers, and whether it's because of steroids or whether the dislike for Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, because they were both, how do I say this tactfully? They were both not nice people to the writers, okay? We know that. But
yeah, so let me ask you, who do you think should have gotten in?
Schilling,
Go on the completely other side of this.
Schilling, Bonds, and Clemens.
I agree with you on Kurt Schilling, but he's a whole nother topic. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were both found guilty of steroid use.
No, they were not.
Me,
no, they were not. Barry Bonds was never found guilty of steroid use at all.
They were in the first report that came out that dictated.
But they were never found guilty. They were never found guilty.
Fair enough. Okay, he's a steroid user, and I'm a huge Barry Bonds fan. Barry Bonds is the most dominant baseball player we've had in our generation.
Period.
Right?
Period.
Mike Trout is too, and then if you don't believe Barry Bonds deserves to be there, then you take him off. But Barry Bonds is the most dominant baseball player of our era.
And was before he took growth
but
hormones.
There's a huge. No, he wasn't. No, Ken Griffey was there with him.
But Ken Griffey was injured all the time. Barry Bonds wasn't injured.
I got it. I agree, but he did it. And so for me, he cheated the game. And I'm a firm believer that the Baseball Hall of Fame should remain to be the Hall of Greatness instead of the Hall of Very Good. And slowly but surely, this is becoming the Hall of the Very Good. You cannot put Harold Baines in the Hall of Fame, or there's been a bunch of guys that have got it in, and I'm like, what?
Okay.
He wasn't even the best player on his team.
Okay, let me play off that and say I agree with you 100%. But the writers put Harold Baines in. That goes right to my point. The writers are terrible at this. They have no business doing this.
The writers didn't put Harold Baines in. That executive committee did, excuse me, which is made up of a former GM, and the GM of the Chicago White Sox just sat there and basically paid everybody off to put him in. With
Harold Baines,
and other things.
Harold
Baines got in there.
He has no
Craig
business.
Biggio should not be in there. And his teammate, his name went right out of my
Jeff Bagwell?
Jeff Bagwell should not be in there. Mike Piazza shouldn't be in there.
Are you kidding me? Piazza definitely should be in there.
He's a steroid user. Do
you have proof of that?
He was in the Dowd report.
That report was opinion and conjecture. There was no proof ever presented in that report.
I mean, you can't be a 33-year-old man and have zits all over your back and not be in steroids.
Well, that's your opinion, but that's not proof.
All right, fair enough. All right, then Piazza's in his game.
Here's what needs to happen. Omar
Vizquel should not be in the Hall of Fame, first of all. And this whole thing about the only thing that bothers me is that the writers are putting their own personal opinion
and
their beliefs into it. Kurt Schilling is a Hall of Famer, right? You look at
but
his
they don't like his
record,
politics.
And it's second to none. Correct.
But they don't like his politics.
Right, and that is wrong. That is wrong. But this isn't a new thing for the baseball writers.
But here's my point.
This has been going on for 100 years.
People always say cheaters can't get in the Hall. Ty Cobb made a lifetime out of cheating and admitted that he cheated. And Ty Cobb is thought of as one of the greatest players in the history of the game. Cheated. There are many pitchers in the game that were known cheaters, but they were pitchers. They're in the game. People say, yeah, but the steroid era was different. People were taking, they were using performance-enhancing drugs. Let me tell you something. Greenies and speed pills and all in the 60s and 70s that were in salad bowls because guys were playing 162 games and they were staying awake. Whether you like it or not, that's a performance enhancer when it gives you energy. Whether it's the same as steroids, it doesn't matter. It's still a performance enhancer.
Steroids are so much.
Steroids don't help hand-eye coordination.
Yes, they do. Oh, they've proven that it does, actually.
Okay.
They've actually proven that it does.
You know,
it gives a guy like Ken Caminetti, right? Third baseman for the San Diego Padres. He went from a journeyman at best baseball player to the MVP.
No,
because it gives you, and they've proven this. It gives you fast twitch motion, and increases it dramatically.
It takes you from
and
morning track
your hand
power.
to eye. Yeah, but listen, it gives your fast twitch muscles more explosiveness, and it gives you better hand to eye coordination. And that's a proven fact. It's a proven fact. So yes, steroids help your hand-eye coordination.
No, it does not. But you can say what you want. It does not. Look,
it does.
Let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this pointed question. Have you ever in your life taken an anabolic steroid?
I'm sure I have.
I mean for performance enhancing, illegal, not in the guidance of a doctor.
No. Have you seen me?
Okay.
No,
I will readily admit, and don't shy away from it, that I went from 197 pounds to 230 pounds in 6.5 months. I went from being able to bench press 275 to throwing 405 up with no problem in 6.5 months. You know how I did that?
Yeah.
D-ball, equipoise, and testosterone. I don't shy away from it. Okay?
All right.
It helped me get a college scholarship. It helped me pay for school. I'm so okay with steroid use to get you along in life. People say, well, that's terrible, Tom. I'm sorry. It's how I did it. Okay, but here's my point. Here's why baseball. Here's why you can't hold. Here's why you can't hold Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens responsible, and why you can't keep people like Mark McGwire out and stuff like that. Everybody was doing it. It wasn't like it was a few people. Everybody was doing it. So the playing field was. They weren't cheating. They thought they were cheating, but the playing field was actually much more equal than anybody ever imagined, because originally you just thought that the hitters were doing it. Chicks dig the long ball. It saved baseball, by the way. Steroid use of Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and then Barry Bonds saved the game of baseball. The Hall of Fame not only should be the best people, but it should tell the story of the game. Now, I'm not saying that you put Barry Bonds in the same area as Hank Aaron or the same area as Babe Ruth or Lou Gehrig, but there should be a room in the Hall of Fame that says, here's 1997 to 2001, and here are the people that played in it. Here's the story of baseball during that time period. They should be in the hall, if nothing more than just to tell the story of what happened during the steroid era.
Have you been to Cooperstown?
I have, 3 different times.
Yeah, and there are pieces of that era already in the hall.
Right.
You know,
but not the people.
There's Mark McGwire, 62. There are things there that represent that era. I completely respect what you're saying. For me, and I've said this publicly, if my child had an opportunity to get a college degree, I mean, you've turned it into owning a Cadillac and a bed warmer, right?
Thank you.
So obviously the degree has some real. I'm only half kidding about that. But again, you had it allowed you an opportunity to go to college, which you may not have had
100%
without it. And for that, I say, I get it. It's your risk, right? You didn't hurt anybody doing it. And I feel the same way about in sports. If you can go and now you can make millions and millions of dollars by taking this pill or getting this shot or taking this cream, go take the cream. I mean, because we're talking about generational wealth. I mean, there are some bad influences. I mean, it killed Ken Caminetti.
Yeah.
It killed Lyle Alzado.
100%.
And you know, Lyle Alzado was taking horse stuff.
Yeah.
So, and Barry Bonds was taking HGH.
And see, that's the difference.
Not even...
That's people don't realize that there's a difference between anabolic steroids and human growth hormones. Barry Bonds didn't bulk up muscle-wise at all through steroid use. I firmly believe he took a lot of human growth hormones, and here's my rationale. At 29, I did this research this morning. At 29, you know, you go back and you look at hat size and everything. I pulled up the Pittsburgh Pirates stuff, and it showed what Barry Bonds' hat size and shoe size was. At 29 years old, Barry Bonds' hat size was 7 3/8. His shoe,
that's right.
His shoe was an 11 1/2. Okay? At 38 years old, his hat size was 7 7/8, and his shoe size was 12 1/2. You don't
and he
grow.
went from having hair to being bald.
You don't grow.
Make sure that you make that
No,
point.
and he did go bald. You don't grow an inch on your foot and almost a half inch on your head size taking anabolic steroids. My head and feet never grew. I still wear a size 10 shoe and still wear a 7 3/4 hat. It hasn't changed since I was a junior in high school.
There's no way you're a 7 3/4 melon.
Oh yeah, 7
You're an
3/4.
8.5 melon.
No, it's 7 3/4 all day.
Dan Martone's, by the way, is an 8.5, I think.
Well, Dan Martone may be a 9. His hat size could be bigger than his shoe size, to be honest.
Well, I don't know what is in that head.
But when you said something right away that is the crux of my issue, you said it's a hall of greatness, not a hall of pretty good. How's it get greater than Barry Bonds?
No, and this is my stance. This has always been my stance. If you believe that steroids, and I'm putting this in quotes, are okay, then fine, put them in, right? But Paul Merrill is still not a Hall of Famer.
No, he's not a Hall of Famer.
You still have to, and on that list, there's those 3 guys I would put in.
I would not put Scott Rollins has no business even close. No.
Shouldn't even be.
No.
He shouldn't even be in the conversation.
Here were the people that were eligible: Barry Bonds, Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Scott Rowland, Omar Vizquel, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, Jeff Kent. Here's the ones that should not be on that list: Scott Rowland, Omar Vizquel, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, Jeff Kent.
I disagree on Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent was the best second baseman in Major League Baseball for 4, maybe 5 years. Period. End of story.
Wait.
I watched a lot of Giants.
You know he played with in the same era as Ryan Sandberg and
he was better than Ryan Sandberg.
And Roberto
He was better than
Alomar.
Ryan Sandberg. He was better than Roberto Alomar. Compare the stats.
God.
Look at their stats.
Oh dear God. You know, I guess we'll have to go back to talking about.
Was an absolute stud.
I guess we'll have to go start talking about tennis, something you know.
Compare the stats.
I guess we'll have to talk about tennis, something you're good at or know.
All right.
You know.
All right. Well, I'm just saying. Look at the stats.
Now next year,
if you think that Ryan Sandberg was anything other than a compiler, you don't understand the game of baseball.
Now next year,
Jeff Kent was dominant. Jeff Kent was dominant.
Next year. Here's who they got to face next year. Alex Rodriguez. Whether you like the guy or not, whether you think he did steroids or not, he is one of the greatest players ever to play the game.
No. He was suspended for 160.
Oh, of course he was. Of course he was. I know he was. But he's still one of the best. But he's still one of the best players ever to play the game. If it's a Hall of Greatness,
if you're okay with
he's
steroids,
there.
he's in.
Okay, David Ortiz.
If you're okay with,
is Big Papi a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he's the greatest DH of all time.
Here's one that I don't even know how he's on the list. How in the hell is Jimmy Rollins even on the list?
I didn't even know that. Why? Why would he be on the list for?
And the other, the Tex-Mex. And don't get me wrong, Tex-Mex played for Atlanta. He was a dominant first baseman for a while.
No, he was not dominant.
For Atlanta, he was
with
pretty good.
the Rangers.
But he has no business.
Pretty good. That's not a Hall of Fame.
I know. Mark Teixeira has no business on the list for the Hall of Fame. None.
Not at all. You know why he's there? It's because he played for the Yankees.
That's exactly why he's there. But my point with you when we started this is that the baseball writers harbor situations in their voting that they should not be allowed to harbor. There is no doubt there's no doubt that Kurt Schillings, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens and Alex Rodriguez next year are Hall of Famers.
if you're going with steroids being okay, then those three are in, and I believe Schilling gets there strictly on merit.
If you're going, if you're going with any kind of performance enhancing drug is okay, Black Beauty, speed pills, anything like that, then these guys are in the hall.
Do you know why Mark Teixeira and Jimmy Rollins are on the ballot?
Because they don't have enough great players.
No, it's because they work for ESPN.
Oh, that you may have something there.
And ESPN has something like 12 writers. And
Kurt Schilling got blackballed by ESPN.
Correct.
Blackballed.
Correct. That's correct.
We didn't even take
everybody at ESPN. And if you remember, this whole thing happened during the wokeness period of ESPN, and ESPN has never recovered, and they never will. You mean
the liberalism of ESPN? Is that what you meant?
Absolutely. Yeah. When they decided that when
they decided to stop reporting sports and let Keith Olbermann report his opinion.
Correct. And Jamel Hills, and Jamel Hills taking her show for an hour to rail against the president and all of that. When I'm like, come on, I just want to hear.
I want to hear the box scores. That's all I want to see.
I mean, show the highlights. Show the highlights.
I knew this was going to be a topic. When I saw this, I was like, yeah, Galen's not going to be in agreement with me, and Galen will be wrong, but it's fine.
But this is always, as long as you're consistent, as long as you're going to say all steroid users are in.
All steroid users are
okay.
In. If they're great enough, to meet the criteria, if their career was great enough to meet the criteria, they should be in. And
that's fine.
Here's what gets me.
That's your stance. I have no problem with
Here's what gets me. Kurt Schilling was 16 votes short this year. Okay, here's writers not doing their job, Galen. 14 ballots were left blank with no votes whatsoever.
Of course. He was closer last year. And then I know he came out and said, look, I want to be taken off the ballot.
Yep.
And I will always have a special place in my heart for Kurt Schilling for what he did for my Red Sox. And what he did in Game 6 is arguably one of the greatest sports feats of all time. And that's the greatest comeback in the history of the world.
Hey,
that's a bigger comeback than World War II.
I got to get this in real quick. Galen Unal is
probably more important too.
I got to get this in real quick. Galen Unal is brought to us by the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located at 2700 Southwest 34th Street.
Funny.
They offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. If you have any questions how they're handling COVID-19, call Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, 352-854-6262. Also, we'd like to thank Penn Flooring, family-owned and operated, serving Marion County for over 30-plus years. They're a full-service flooring company that specializes in commercial and residential fields. Go check out their showroom at 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala, or give them a call, 352-351-3420. Yeah, I knew we were going to get heated about this, so we blew right through the commercials and everything, Galen.
It happens. Again, I was joking about World War II, but again, it's arguably one of the great moments in baseball history, and to deny that because of a guy's political affiliation, or the fact that he collects World War II memorabilia, is crazy. When you allow people into the Baseball Hall of Fame who were known segregationists,
100%.
like Ty Cobb never wanted to play with a black man, but he's in.
No.
There are huge racists that were
half of the Dodgers organization. Half the Dodgers organization almost quit because they didn't like Jackie Robinson was going to break the barrier with them.
Sure, and what about the managers who refused to have any black baseball
Connie Mack
players?
was never going to play a black baseball player.
Right, but he's in the Hall. And don't tell me that it was a different era. We're now in this era where if you don't have the correct view on things, you're being blackballed and canceled. And your speech doesn't matter.
How long before the woke community tries to start removing people from the Hall?
Already are. Oh, hold on. That's already happening.
I know.
It's just a matter of time. I mean, if you're taking a statue with Abraham Lincoln down, right? Because he's not woke enough, then everything's on the table.
Hey, by the way,
everything.
The one thing we can do this summer, maybe, if we have the chance, is we might get the people who were elected a year ago. We might be able to get them inducted in with a ceremony because it was postponed. But let's look at that list.
Right.
Derek Jeter, Hall of Famer. Not even question.
Absolutely.
Okay. After that, okay, Larry Walker was a good player, not a great player.
He's not a great player at all.
And he played in Colorado for most of his career, where the ball travels better. Here's another one.
And look at his splits. Yeah. Look at his splits between Coors Field and out of Coors.
Here's another one.
He's a 280 hitter outside of Coors.
I got 20 seconds, so I got to get these in. Here's another one. The late Marvin Miller. I can't even remember who that was. And then.
Yes, you do. He's the reason we have free agency.
No, that's Kurt Floyd. That's Kurt Floyd.
No, Marvin Miller represented
he
represented
Kurt Floyd. Okay. And then a guy who was a good catcher. But still, Ted Simmons has no business in the Hall of Fame. Galen, where's the bloodmobile?
Hey, we're at the Villages Walmart today, and I agree with you. I could talk about Baseball Hall of Fame forever. Hey, give blood, please. Right there on the boulevard, 1607 East Silverfish Boulevard.
See you. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
WOCA, Ocala, the Villages, on top of the world, and Gainesville, the source.
Lance Pry.
Judge Tuesday barred the U.S. government from enforcing President Biden's 100-day deportation moratorium. U.S. District Judge Drew Tipton issued a temporary restraining order sought by Texas, and the change could harm the state. CoreCivic and GO Group, two of the largest U.S. private prison companies in the United States, could lose about $1 billion a year between them under new limits on the sector from President Biden. Biden's current order to dissolve applies to the Justice Department's federal contracts with private prisons. The order does not apply to the Department of Homeland Security, therefore not to ICE facilities. Scheduled retrial of an Oregon defendant, Pedro Sanchez, who was accused of committing a brutal hammer attack on Heather Fawcett, has been dropped, with the defendant to walk free. The key witness in the case said she won't testify without wearing a face mask. The defendant's defense team had insisted on Sanchez's right to meet his accuser face-to-face. USA Radio News.
The stress levels of Americans may be at an all-time high. From education to business to basic needs to politics. 2020 pandemic-related stressors are pushing many of us to near breaking point. That's why you should consider the stress and pain-relieving products from sunny-bay.com, like our lavender neck wraps and pads infused with premium Washington lavender buds. They relieve tension and relax with a soothing scent of lavender. And lifestyle expert Jennifer Bonner recommends products from Sunny Bay.
Sunny Bay's hands-free neck wrap should be your go-to pain relief solution.
Give gifts to family and friends that relieve stress and pain. Give love and care by giving the best. Give pillows, neck wraps, and body wraps from sunny-bay.com, a Biomed DB design company. Just click sunny-bay.com. That's sunny-bay.com.
Gene and Debbie thank you for another successful year and to wish you and yours a year ahead full of health, faith, and compassion. In addition to our pasture mowing, we also offer fence line spraying for weed control and rototilling for your winter gardens. We are family owned and operated, licensed and insured, and farm ready. Powell Gene, Gene at yahoo.com. 352-629-2440. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. 352-629-2440. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion brings together business and community partners, economic development leaders, and educational providers to connect employers with qualified, skilled talent and job seekers with employment and career development opportunities. Tune in the first Wednesday of each month at 9:30 to Career Source, Citrus, Levy, Marion, and learn how they can help you.
Well, you've heard us say this before, but it's worth repeating. Right now, in the wintertime, is the best time to plant trees in this part of Florida. Best of all, Bob Wines brings you this money-saving deal. Pick out a tree, any shade tree, from large to super large to humongous at Bob Wines' super low prices, and get a second one just like it for half price. Nobody else offers this deal. Hurry for the best selection. Great deals this week's at Bob Wines. A closeout on Drift Roses roses, Ocala's favorite, just $15.99. Dwarf ever-blooming red ruffle azaleas, blooming right now, just $3.99. Flowering annuals, a flat of 18 for just $19.99. And by all means, don't miss the Camellia Show Spectacular, spread out all over this 5.5-acre garden. The time is now. The place is Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, Southeast 38th Street, just east of Lake Weir Avenue, in the same blooming place in Ocala since 1952.
Started in 1975. It's Yendel's Building Materials. Whether you're making repairs, adding a room, or building a house, Yendel's constantly delivers excellent service and top quality materials and many of the tools and hardware you need to get the job done. At Yendel's, they take pride in supplying their customers with new and innovative products. Yendel's experience in truss design, manufacturing, and component materials is second to none. 834 North Magnolia Avenue in Ocala, 732-3000. Stop by to experience the difference.
You're getting ready to move and you work hard. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. You need pros. Trained professional moving experts to do the heavy lifting for you. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. They care about your things as much as you do, and they do it fast and right. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. Visit twomeninatruck.com and get moving.
2 Men in a Truck.
AccuSleep offers a safe and effective medical option for those who suffer from sleep disorders of all kinds. AccuSleep makes restoring healthy sleep patterns possible. No medication, no surgery, just good, sound sleep. Mend your sleep so you can stop counting sheep. Experience restorative sleep at AccuSleep, the acupuncture sleep clinic in Ocala by calling 352-610